Imaginative defense, written by Engletroll. Did that human just hit my ship? Admiral Carney of the Cygor Empire peered out of the viewport, his voice tinged with disbelief. His ship, the Gabaron, a superstar dreadnought 10 kilometers long and brimming with every weapon the galaxy had to offer, was being propelled backwards past the fourth planet of this insignificant solar system by a man dressed in a blue suit and red cape. The crew, initially stunned, began to regain their composure and halt the ship. "Sir, what should we do?" His second-in-command looked at the screen in disbelief. Then it destroyed the forward shield generators and the forward main cannon. "Yeah? That has to be a hologram. Scan for whatever weapons they used and send in 2 frigates to destroy whatever that thing is." His order was followed, and he saw 2 of the frigates that had been held back speed past him, launching rockets at the target, only for the rockets to be blasted by some red laser from the human's eyes, according to the video feed. "Do you see this? What in the 5th unholy hell is that thing from? Is it a droid? Scans say it's biological, and there's no technology detected, and according to our files, it looks human." "Looks human?" Admiral Carney turned to the science officer. "Does that look like a normal biological being to you? Those rockets are made of derinium. We can launch them through a damn sun if we want to." He turned to see the human grabbing a frigate and slinging it towards them. The other hightailed it out of there, jumping into light speed in whatever direction they were facing. Smart kids, he thought. Brace for impact! Brace for impact! But the shield, his first officer looked at the helmsman as he shouted out the warning. Admiral Carney sighed and looked at him. "He destroyed them, remember? Move the ship out of the trajectory, turn the ship around and get us out of here. We can't fight that thing." "What about the shield? We can't jump without the shield." "Have a support ship land on bow and have them extend their shield over our damaged areas. Then let's get out of here." "Sir, the human is approaching us." The words made it go cold down his spine. How could that thing, man, move this fast without any tech? "Is he attacking?" He managed to keep his voice calm, but he was getting worried. Was he to die here, in what was supposed to be a simple invasion to teach the recruits how to do the job? "No, he's just watching us." The words calmed him down. Maybe they could survive this. It was a defense mechanism. It had to be. So, if they just left, it would leave them be. "Then ignore him and let's get out of here." When he finally had time, he went over the reports. Earth was not supposed to have such a being as its defender. He had never seen or heard anything like this. This might cost him his job, but there was no way in the 5 unholy hell that he could ever win over that. He logged the report and got himself a drink. He looked at his own fist. The green muscular fist would never be able to do something like that. They will cut his horns and blind his third eye for this, but he would survive. He could leave the Navy and find a job on a starbase far from the capital planet. Yeah, it might be for the best. He got out of the pad and wrote down his resignation and sent it to the headquarters. 5 years later, Jar Carney had been working as a bartender at the Guston Starbase for 5 years now, a trader base that saw creatures from all over the galaxy. Here, nobody knew or cared who he was, though we had heard the stories about the admiral who quit his position after attacking Earth, and a single human beat them back. It was a very popular story among some of the travelers. The only thing Jar found funny was that they often got the species of the admiral. In fact, mostly it was somebody else than Kona like him. It tended to change. Lately, it was a female admiral of the Saurian Empire. Carney had to smirk at how the story had changed, and then he turned to a new Saurian bartender, Saris, a young woman with a serious face who always kept to herself. She was pretty for a Saurian. Her soft yellow and black striped fur and the short tail made her cute, and her feminine movements had already made a few brave patrons try their luck. However, she ignored them all. "Hey, I didn't know you guys had a female admirals." She froze as he spoke, and Gemma, the local drunk, chuckled. "Only if they are royalty. They are given a freight and told to show what they can do. By this time, this princess went to Earth, which was such a stupid choice. I thought they had learned by now." He then winked 5 of his 15 eyes at Saris. Both Carney and Saris turned to him and said in unison, "What?" Jammer laughed and finished his drink. "I'm the finesse admiral they spoke about last year. Unlike the smart invaders, I managed to land on that cursed planet, and while that demon tore through my fleet in space, I had to face something even worse. We set up a teleport point and just started to send in our mech units. They suddenly faced a green giant behemoth of a human. The more they shoot him, the stronger and more dangerous he became. Then we launched our troops and drone fighters. The humans responded by sending in more of these demons. First was a man in red and ran faster than we could see. Then a man dressed in old armor and a hammer of all things came. He controlled the weather, and everywhere he struck was also hit by lightning from the clear sky. The green behemoth and a hammer guy was just as strong as the demon in the sky. They just can't fly like him. Besides the red blur that will zip around and disarm your troops, the ground support of those two monsters is a few other demons. There is a man with metal claws that could heal any wounds we inflicted on him. He is aided by a woman who tore through our men like they were paper. We had managed to defend the teleporter, so we were poured in our drone clones. It didn't matter. He took another drink as he got lost in the nightmare that would follow. It took a second before he continued. The worst thing happened when night came. They made the dead rise to fight, led by some bloodthirsty beasts who drained our officers. Then came the humans, who turned into predatory animals and were immune to anything that we threw at them. At that point, we finally had enough and ran away. We teleported home since all of our ships had been destroyed, and destroyed our own side of the gate. So, of course, I was expelled. He smirked, showing a more of short teeth. But I had recorded too much evidence for them to ignore it. So we sent spies to try and find a weakness in their defense. And then we found out that we were not the first to face them like this. He held out his glass for a refill, which he got. We discovered that they have defeated at least 8 invasions this way. And, he stopped for dramatic effect, we discovered their weapon. Their monsters are not real. Well, they are real, but they are the result of human imagination. They have this technology that allows them to pull their, what's the word? Now I remember, superheroes and monsters from their books and movies. And for as long as people needed them, they would protect them from the enemies of Earth. You see, they vanish once the invasion is over. Then the humans plunder the battlefield for tech. He chuckles as he looks at the clawed hand. Yeah, so here we ship 3 admirals fracked up by imaginary monsters because nobody would believe it before seeing it with their own eyes. I mean, would you all rulers believe in such a fracked up story? End of story. Story number 2. Bregoth Docuentaries. Bregoth. I'm gonna die here, in a muddy field, bleeding out from wounds caused by kinetic shrapnel, of all things. Who uses kinetics in this day and age? Oh, I remember. The scourge of the galaxy, the nightmares of the sentient species, the humans. What was it the Invovids told us in Boot? Humans are predators. They traverse the battlefield in packs, corralling their prey towards an area that gives them the optimal terrain for attack. Cover your flanks so they can't surround you. They target the weakest of the squad, so keep your ranks hidden and carry your weapons as instructed. The last lesson was the one that frightened us the most. The one that made it clear that these uncivilized predators cannot and must not be allowed to leave their nest world. They won't kill you outright. Predators toy with their prey before they kill it. So leave the wounded behind to slow down their advance, fall back, and retaliate as they succumb to their instincts. I guess that explains the kinetics. Had they only the civilized manner to use plasma weapons instead. But I guess toying with the dead feast is less fun when it doesn't squeal in agony and fear. We were told that they preferred woodlands as fighting grounds, so we dropped in a settlement, concrete and steel as far as the eye could see. We barely made it to the drop pod before the first attack on our position began. An explosive round of no small magnitude flew through an open port of the pod. If it hadn't been for the herd leader, it would have blown us all to pieces. But he managed to slam the emergency port shut before the munition detonated. The pod is gone, and with it, our resupply. We ducked into cover and scouted the flanks. Then I was shot in the hind, right in the crown. HL hailed me, asked me if I could move. I said no. My rear pelvis is shattered. I'm bleeding from the wound. All I can do is lie here and slow down the barbarians as my herd distances themselves. I can see the humans, well, 3 of them. The first 2 are haunched low, moving silently to avoid being detected. I thought they had better camouflage. The green, black and brown patterns on their fur is well-placed in the grey and dull settlement. The third one is moving towards me. It stops in front of me. I force my eyes to remain open. I will not die a coward's death. I will stare this monster in its eyes and keep my voice to myself until such a time as it tires of toying with me. What is it doing? Why is it displaying those teeth in the trademark malicious pounce pattern? One of the front manipulators is moving, rising slowly. That is holding a small weapon? I will not. Sarge, they've left another wound behind. Looks like the topper got it in the rear pelvic area. Poor thing is bleeding out. I hate that they don't care for their wounded. Medic! Lucky for you that my family were hunters, Sarge. The medic stopped and looked at the bleeding alien. It irks me that they resemble centaurs that much. This one will never move again. Topper got it across the spine. There is nothing that we can do, and it'll be dead before we get back to camp. I hate this. Our orders are to isolate the dropship whatevers and kill the invading troops. We can't let our first colony on Sagittarius Spur fall to the first invaders who see fit to shoot at us. So what about this one, Sarge? Make it quick and painless. We'll bury it after nightfall. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.